Chosen one. They will regret laughing at you. God will exalt you. They will regret it. There was a time when they didn't just doubt you, they laughed at you. They ridiculed your dreams, mocked your silence, misunderstood your purpose. They pointed fingers when you stumbled. They whispered when you chose to walk alone. They watched your pain with grins on their faces, as if your downfall was a performance put on just for their entertainment. But what they failed to see is what God was doing behind the curtain of your suffering. What they couldn't feel was the fire being forged in the furnace of your rejection. You weren't being broken, you were being built. Before we go deeper, I ask you to stay until the end of this message. Let every word settle in your heart like prophecy. And if you feel the energy stirring, if you feel the shift beginning, I invite you to comment your warmest wish and the number 99 below. That simple act of intention sends a ripple into the universe, a declaration that your time is near, and nothing can stop what's coming. They thought your quietness was weakness. They mistook your patience for lack of power. They underestimated the depth of your soul, the strength of your endurance, the purpose behind your process. You didn't retaliate. You didn't defend yourself with noise. You let them laugh, let them mock, let them speak without knowing. Because something inside of you knew this wasn't the end. This wasn't defeat. This was the setup for the rise that would shake the very ground they stand on. You see, the story isn't over when they laugh. The story is just beginning. The laughter is the prelude to the shift. The disrespect is the echo that precedes the roar. When chosen ones are laughed at, it is not a sign of failure. It is the first sign of divine reversal. The mockery is fuel. It sharpens your vision. It strengthens your core. It teaches you who's real and who's not. And more than anything, it reminds you that you were never meant to fit into their expectations. You were meant to exceed them. Let them laugh. Let them talk. Let them write you off. Because in the silence of your soul, a divine force has been writing something greater. And when it manifests, they won't just stop laughing, they'll fall silent. Not because you demanded their respect, but because the power of your transformation will leave them speechless. Your success will echo in rooms they never wanted you to enter. Your name will be mentioned in places they swore you'd never reach. They will regret the moment they overlooked you, not because you held on to bitterness, but because you chose to rise. What they didn't see is how deeply you were connected to your source. What they didn't realize is that your roots were growing in places they couldn't see. They saw the drought. They didn't see the preparation. They saw the closed doors. They didn't see the keys being made behind the scenes. And when you walk through those doors, gracefully, powerfully, unbothered, they'll remember not just your pain, but your perseverance. Not just your silence, but your strength. Every insult they threw was a seed, and what they meant to bury you with, God used to grow you. Every dismissal was a divine redirection. Every betrayal was a revelation. Every eye roll, every scoff, every sarcastic laugh was added to the fire that now fuels your purpose. You didn't shrink. You didn't break. You expanded. And now you are rising. Not to prove a point, but to fulfill a prophecy. Not to seek revenge, but to embrace revelation. The universe is shifting in your favor. Doors that once refused to open are now unlocking with divine ease. And the ones who once doubted you will have no choice but to watch as you step into everything they thought you'd never touch. This isn't just success. It's elevation. It's redemption. It's the divine announcement that you are exactly who you were meant to be. and the world is finally catching up. You were hidden for a reason, protected in plain sight, covered while being cultivated. And now, the unveiling begins. There is nothing louder than the silence of those who once laughed, now watching in disbelief. And there is no greater confirmation of your calling than the shift you are about to walk into. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to post about it. You just need to live it. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how. Because the truth is, the how doesn't matter. What matters is that it's happening. What matters is that nothing they said, nothing they thought, nothing they hoped against you could stop what was divinely written. They were part of the story, not the ending. So breathe in. Exhale all the pain, the shame, the memory of their laughter, and rise. Rise in silence. Rise in strength. Rise knowing that every moment of doubt only sharpened your destiny. You're not who they said you were. You're more. You're chosen. And soon, everyone will know. You were never the joke. They just didn't understand your process. They saw your stillness and mistook it for stagnation. But you were listening. You were learning. You were gathering strength in silence, training in private, healing behind closed doors. And while they broadcasted their progress for applause, you built in secret, knowing that true elevation doesn't scream. It arrives. The delay was not denial, it was divine calibration. The rejection was not failure, it was redirection. You were being placed precisely where you needed to be, not where they thought you should be. You weren't late, you weren't lost. You were being hidden on purpose, protected from premature exposure. And when the time was right, not convenient, not logical, but right, you would rise. They laughed because they couldn't see what you carried. They judged your chapter without reading your story. But you kept turning pages. You kept showing up, even when it hurt. You kept believing, even when no one clapped. And that's what separates the chosen from the common. You didn't need an audience to validate you. You didn't need permission to keep going. You just kept going. And now, everything is about to shift. Because God does not forget what people mock. The universe remembers every seed you planted in tears, every dream you refused to let die, every time you showed compassion when you were met with cruelty. And now, that remembering is turning into reward. Your name is rising in circles where your feet have not yet stepped. Your energy is being felt in places where your voice has never echoed. You are becoming undeniable. They will regret it, not because you wish it upon them, but because the light you carry can no longer be ignored. They'll regret not believing in you. They'll regret not seeing your worth. They'll regret choosing laughter over loyalty, gossip over grace. But that's not your concern anymore, because this part of your journey isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Your rise will be silent, but the impact will be thunderous, not with vengeance, but with vision. You're not going back to correct the narrative. You're walking forward to create a new one. You don't owe explanations to those who never sought understanding. Your evolution is your answer. Your growth is your response. Your peace is your power. Let them see you, not as the person they once dismissed, but as the masterpiece you've become. Let them realize that the one they overlooked was actually the one carrying the light. Let them witness the grace in your movement, the strength in your gentleness, the fire in your calm. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be aligned. And now, you are. There's no stopping the wave that's coming. The favor that's chasing you is not conditional. It's not based on their opinion, their acceptance, or their permission. It's divine, it's overdue, and it's unfolding. What once looked impossible is now inevitable. What once looked far away is now inches from your grasp. You've outgrown the ridicule. You've outlasted the doubt. And you're walking into everything they said was off limits. This is your season of full circle moments, of tables turning and eyes opening, of humble beginnings transforming into holy breakthroughs, of delayed dreams accelerating overnight. Not because you forced it, but because you flowed with divine timing. You didn't run ahead, and you didn't fall behind. You allowed yourself to be led, and now you will be lifted. No one will understand how it all happened so quickly, but you will know it wasn't quick at all. It was years of becoming, years of struggle disguised as strength training, years of being misjudged while your destiny matured in silence. This is not overnight success. This is divine orchestration, finally reaching its crescendo. And they will regret laughing, not because you seek to humiliate them, but because the truth of your resilience will stand taller than any lie they told. You will carry your success with grace. You will rise without bitterness. You will bless even those who mocked you, because you know your reward is not just in the destination, but in the transformation that got you here. So stay steady, chosen one. Your elevation is not a reaction, it's a revelation. The very people who tried to dim your light will need your glow to find their way. And you, being who you are, will still shine. The world may have laughed, but now it will listen. There's something powerful that happens when someone rises with no bitterness in their heart. When someone who was once mocked walks back into the room, not to retaliate, but to radiate. That's the energy you're stepping into. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving them wrong. This is about proving that nothing, no word, no wound, no whisper, could block what was already written for you. They laughed because they didn't see the blueprint, but the architect never shows the final masterpiece before the foundation is laid. You were in foundation mode. You were being stripped of what wasn't yours and being filled with what was divine. That process didn't look pretty. It didn't make sense to others, but it was sacred. It was strategic. It was necessary. And now that the groundwork has been completed, what's about to rise from it is untouchable, unshakable, unapologetic. You no longer need their validation. The days of shrinking to make others comfortable are over. The time of dimming your light so they wouldn't feel insecure is done. You were never meant to hide. You were meant to shine in a way that awakens others. Not everyone, but those who are ready to see. The ones who laughed weren't ready, but the ones who are meant to walk this next chapter with you. They'll feel your presence like a shift in the atmosphere. And those who laughed will feel something else, the weight of what they missed, the weight of their own limitations projected onto you, the weight of their own fear disguised as judgment. But even still, you will not meet them with anger, because the truth is, they never had power over your path. They were only spectators, some who jeered, others who cheered, but none who built you. That was all you. That was your faith, your strength, your alignment, your surrender to the process. Let this next version of you speak without speaking. Let your life echo louder than any argument. Let your glow become the answer to every doubt they voiced. You don't need to return to the past to collect apologies. You're not owed words. You're walking into evidence. Evidence that your path was never theirs to understand. Evidence that your future is none of their business. Evidence that grace was always guiding you, even when they thought you were lost. They didn't know that isolation was actually your protection. They didn't know that the wilderness season was filled with divine whispers, sacred training, and holy fire. They didn't know that while they were mocking, you were molding. And now they'll see the result, not because you throw it in their faces, but because the light you carry can't be hidden anymore. There's a certain quiet vengeance in becoming everything they said you could never be. But again, this isn't vengeance in the human sense. It's divine justice, the kind that unfolds without force, the kind that requires no performance, just presence. Because now, every step you take will carry a weight, not of heaviness, but of impact. Every word you speak will shift something. Every room you enter will feel your essence. You won't even need to announce yourself. Your spirit will go ahead of you. Your transformation will speak before you ever say a word. And the most powerful part, you don't need them to see it. You're not waiting for them to applaud. You're not holding your breath for recognition. You've already been seen by the one who matters. And because of that, the elevation is inevitable. Not earned through performance, but received through alignment. Not achieved by pleasing people, but by pleasing your soul. This season of your life is sacred, not because of what's coming, but because of who you've become. You are no longer seeking to fit in. You're building what others will want to fit into. You are no longer chasing love, acceptance, or status. You are walking in identity, purpose, and power. And the irony is, now that you've let go of needing them, they'll come searching for you. They'll search for your energy, your presence, your wisdom. Not because you changed to impress them, but because you changed to become you. And you are magnetic when you are authentic. You are unstoppable when you are aligned. So don't look back to see who's watching. Keep walking forward. Keep elevating. Keep choosing peace over pettiness, purpose over pride, destiny over drama. That's what separates you from the rest. The laughs have faded. The silence has grown. And now comes the sound of glory unfolding. The sound of doors opening. The sound of prayers answered, not with noise, but with transformation. They laughed. But now, they'll listen. And soon, they'll learn. You didn't rise because you were lucky. You rose because you were prepared. Every heartbreak, every closed door, every betrayal became a silent mentor. And while they were busy laughing, you were gathering wisdom. While they mocked your missteps, you were mastering your path. They thought you were falling apart, but you were falling into alignment. And now, that alignment is pulling you into places that once seemed impossible. There's something holy about being underestimated, something sacred about being overlooked. Because when the world turns its back, the divine turns its face toward you. In the absence of noise, you found clarity. In the rejection, you found redirection. And when you were alone, you discovered the most powerful voice of all, your own. Now the tables are turning, not out of spite, but by divine order. Because every time they counted you out, the universe counted you in. Every time they pushed you down, you were being rooted deeper. And that depth is now becoming visible. What they thought was your ending was only your planting. And the bloom is inevitable. You're not here to convince them anymore. You're not here to replay the pain or retell the story. You're here to live the result, to embody the elevation, to show what happens when grace meets grit. Your power is not in what you say, it's in what you've survived, in what you've rebuilt, in the strength that didn't need an audience to grow. And now, that strength is showing. But don't let their regret define you. Let it remind you, not of your worth. You already know that. Let it remind you of the journey, of how you walked through fire and didn't burn, of how you climbed with blistered hands and weary feet, and still reached heights they said were off limits, of how you never begged to be seen. You simply became undeniable. They will regret it, yes, but not because you wish it upon them, because the truth always reveals itself. And when it does, it doesn't need fanfare. It just needs time. And time is now moving in your favor. The momentum is real. The shift is real. And the weight of your past has been exchanged for the wings of your purpose. This is where you learn to bless those who cursed you. This is where you realize the power of compassion, not as weakness, but as the highest form of strength. Because while they were laughing, you were building character. You were learning how to carry your crown without letting it make you arrogant. You were preparing to receive what they never thought you'd be trusted with. And now you're walking into rooms that weren't even in your prayers, because you stopped asking for survival and started aligning with destiny. This is bigger than validation, bigger than applause. This is about legacy, about breaking generational cycles, about becoming the person you once needed. And if you're honest, their laughter pushed you, not because you needed their attention, but because it lit a fire you never knew you had. And now that fire is leading the way. You'll see it soon. People circling back, not always to apologize, but to understand, to reconnect, to realign. Some with sincere hearts, others with curiosity. But don't worry about the motive. Focus on the mission. You're not who you used to be, and that's the greatest sign of growth. You won't need to explain the gap between who you were and who you are. That gap is sacred. That gap is where the transformation happened. That gap is where the tears fell, the prayers rose, and the old version of you was laid to rest. And the new you, the elevated you, is not just surviving, you're thriving. So move differently now. Speak with clarity, walk with confidence, rest without guilt, smile without explanation. You've earned this version of yourself. You've earned the light in your eyes, the peace in your soul, the power in your voice. And no amount of laughter could ever take that away. They'll regret it, quietly, deeply, maybe even respectfully. But let that be their journey. Your path is upward. Your story is just beginning. And the best part? You don't need to look back anymore, because what's ahead of you is greater than everything behind you. There's a certain peace that comes when you no longer need to be understood. When you stop trying to explain why you moved differently, why you distanced yourself, why you stopped attending the performances of those who once used your pain as entertainment. You no longer live for their acceptance. You no longer breathe to be believed. You exist for something higher now, for truth, for alignment, for purpose. And that's what they never saw coming. They laughed because they assumed your silence was surrender. But what they didn't know is that silence is where your strength was forged. In the quiet, you became solid. While they entertained crowds, you built character. And now, the foundation you built in solitude is holding up the version of you they never believed would exist. Your rise is not just for you. It's for every moment you stayed quiet when you could have defended yourself, for every tear you wiped when no one noticed, for every seed you planted in dry ground, trusting that rain would come. And now, the harvest is here. It will come in unexpected forms, not always loud, not always dramatic, but steady, unshakable, real. You'll start noticing how the people who once ignored you suddenly try to copy your essence. You'll see those who dismissed your presence now craving your perspective. The very rooms you were once excluded from will start feeling your absence, because your energy has changed, and energy doesn't lie. This isn't ego, this is embodiment. You're walking with the weight of wisdom now, the kind that can't be taught in books or classrooms, the kind that only comes through endurance, heartbreak, resilience, and divine timing. You've become the version of you that once only existed in your highest prayers, and they'll feel it. They already do. You'll start to see the shift in their posture, in their words, in their attempts to reconnect. Some will genuinely want to grow with you. Others will want to ride the wave. But you're no longer accessible in the same way, not out of pride, but out of protection. Not everyone deserves access to this version of you. Not everyone can handle the weight of your new level. And you'll be okay with that. You no longer seek to carry everyone. You've learned that loyalty doesn't mean self-destruction, that not everyone laughing with you is laughing for you, that some only clapped when you were beneath them. But now that you're rising, their energy has shifted, and that's okay too, because clarity is a gift, discernment is a blessing, and distance is sometimes the greatest kindness you can offer both yourself and others. You've stepped into a frequency where only truth can breathe, a level where only authenticity survives, and that's where you thrive now. You no longer bend to make others comfortable. You no longer edit your truth to be digestible. You show up fully, flaws, fire, faith, and all. And those who can't receive it, they were never meant to carry the weight of your presence. And here's the real magic. You're not bitter. You're not angry. You're not waiting for apologies. Because you've learned that healing doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes it comes with clarity. And that's more than enough. You see, you've been chosen for a reason. Not because you were perfect, not because you had all the answers, but because you were willing to endure, willing to grow, willing to believe when belief felt impossible. And that willingness became your weapon. It became your protection. It became the reason why nothing and no one could cancel what was already set in motion for you. And so, you rise, quietly, boldly, softly, powerfully. And as you do, they will remember. Not the mistakes, not the stumbles, but the resilience, the comeback, the light. Because light doesn't beg to be seen. It simply shines. And yours is blinding now. You're entering the season of divine reversals. The very mouths that spoke against you will speak of you. The very eyes that rolled will widen. The very hearts that were cold will soften. Not because you need it, but because that's the natural order of justice. What is done in mockery will be met with mercy. What was planted in cruelty will be harvested in grace. You'll feel it all shift, without warning, without apology. And when it does, you'll know. This was never about them. It was about you, about your becoming, about your surrender, about your destiny. And now, the spotlight is on you. Not for attention, but for ascension. There's a quiet knowing that sits in the heart of those who have been through the fire and come out golden. It's not arrogance, it's not pride, it's a sacred calm, a deep, anchored peace that no amount of laughter, rejection, or ridicule can shake. You've arrived at that place now, the place where your peace is no longer dependent on people's opinions, the place where your worth is no longer up for negotiation, the place where your story can no longer be rewritten by someone else's disbelief. And now, chosen one, you walk differently, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you remember who you are. You remember what it cost to carry this level of grace. You remember what it took to smile through silence, to love through loss, to keep walking through waves meant to drown you. You remember every no, every closed door, every mocking laugh. And now, that memory is fuel, not for revenge, but for vision. You're not here to get even. You're here to get elevated. They will regret it, not just because you succeeded, but because they missed the honor of standing beside you when you were still growing. They missed the blessing of your rawness, your hunger, your humanity. They laughed at a masterpiece in progress, and now they'll witness the unveiling. But let it be. Let them regret, let them remember, and let that have nothing to do with you. Because the truth is, you're beyond that now. You've stepped into a timeline where your focus is too precious to be scattered on old stories. You're not here to explain yourself anymore. You're here to embody everything they said you couldn't be. And you're doing it without trying, without forcing, without apologizing. The very thing they mocked has become the very thing they envy. Your consistency, your glow, your depth, your grace. You never had to shout to be powerful. You never had to retaliate to be respected. You simply became. You've become someone new, someone unstoppable, someone who doesn't crumble under judgment, someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who rises again and again, no matter how many times they doubted, mocked, or misunderstood you. And now you are rising to heights that only faith could have reached. Let this final truth settle in your bones. You didn't miss anything. You didn't lose time. You didn't fall behind. Every moment that felt like a delay was divine preservation. You weren't denied. You were developed. And now, because you trusted the process, because you kept showing up, because you didn't let their laughter poison your light, you are stepping into a life so aligned, so abundant, so pure, that even your past self wouldn't recognize it. You'll wake up one day and realize you're living in answered prayers, not just financially, not just externally, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. You'll look around and see the evidence, people who see you, opportunities that match your worth, peace that can't be shaken, alignment that makes sense without explanation, joy that doesn't need justification. You're no longer chasing anything. What's meant for you is finding you, effortlessly, naturally, inevitably. You've shifted into a vibration so pure that only truth can stay. The fake falls away, the distractions disappear, and what remains is everything real, everything right, everything written for you. They will regret laughing, yes, but you won't regret growing. You won't regret trusting the silence. You won't regret choosing yourself when no one else did. Because that's when the real shift happened, when the elevation began, when the old you died and the chosen one awakened. And now you carry the crown, not as a trophy, but as a testament, a symbol of everything you overcame, a reminder that you didn't fold when the world turned cold, that you didn't give up when it was easier to disappear, that you didn't silence your spirit just to be accepted. You honored yourself, and now the universe is honoring you. Let them regret. You rise. You rise in light. You rise in grace. You rise in love. You rise in purpose. And nothing will ever be the same. Now that the storm has passed, now that the dust has settled, what remains is truth. Raw, unshakable truth. And that truth is this: you were never meant to be pitied. You were meant to be revered. Not because you played their game better, but because you chose not to play it at all. You rose by taking a different path, a narrow path, a sacred one, the one no one else had the courage to walk. And in walking that path, you became untouchable. They called you delusional. They called you weak. They whispered behind your back. They laughed in groups, finding joy in what they believed was your downfall. But now, those same mouths are silent. Not because they suddenly see your worth, but because your existence alone is the proof that their words were powerless. Their disbelief had no authority over your destiny. You are walking proof that private battles produce public victories, that invisible growth becomes undeniable power. That time doesn't just heal, it reveals. And what it's revealing now is staggering. The light around you has shifted. The energy within you is glowing. And the people who once couldn't stand you now can't stop watching you. Let them watch. You no longer need to defend your path. You no longer owe the world your pain. As proof, those days are over. You've entered a new dimension now, a realm of effortless attraction, magnetic alignment, and divine orchestration. The very ground you walk on responds to your presence. You no longer chase. You no longer beg. You no longer explain. You allow. You receive. You trust. Because you've learned. What's real doesn't need to be forced. What's yours doesn't need to be proven. It just needs to be claimed. And now, everything you once imagined is rising to meet you. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You shifted. You healed. You chose faith over fear. And that changed everything. And they feel it. The same ones who laughed. The same ones who said you'd never make it. The same ones who looked away while you fought to survive. They're not laughing anymore. They're reflecting. And deep down, they're wondering how they missed it. How they missed you. But let that be their journey. Don't shrink to accommodate their regret. Don't dim your light to comfort their shame. Don't slow your momentum to give them a second chance at what they carelessly threw away. You can forgive without reopening the door. You can release without re-entering the cycle. You can rise without ever looking back. Because this time, your rise isn't temporary. It's rooted. It's reinforced. It's divine. The favor over your life isn't seasonal anymore. It's generational. The blessings aren't just falling into place. They're overflowing. You've become a mirror, reflecting truth, light, and legacy. And those who mocked you, they've become a footnote in a story they thought they were writing. But this was never their story. It was yours all along. And now, that story is being read by eyes you never imagined, heard by ears that once ignored you, echoing across dimensions where your name is being spoken with reverence, not because you chased status, but because you embodied truth. And that truth is shining now, so brightly that no shade can stop it. You are the living evidence that they were wrong. You are the walking reminder that the chosen can't be cancelled. You are the answer to your own prayers. And from this point forward, you walk in a new authority. The kind that can't be earned through popularity. The kind that isn't bought, sold, or borrowed. The kind that's downloaded from source, from purpose, from pain, from everything you've endured. So take a deep breath, chosen one. You're not who they remember. You're who you became. And you haven't even peaked yet. This question mark, this is only the beginning. Because the story isn't about the laughter anymore. It's about the rise. And this time, nothing will be the same. Now that you've crossed over, take a moment. Feel this version of yourself. Feel the ground beneath you, strong and steady. No more cracks. No more shaking. You are grounded in your truth. This is no longer a phase. This is who you are now. You've evolved so far beyond their words that even if they tried to describe you today, their language would fall short. Because you've become something they never expected. Free. They tried to trap you in their idea of you. Their laughter wasn't just mockery, it was limitation. They wanted you to stay small so they could stay comfortable. But you outgrew every label they gave you. You shed every false identity, every name that wasn't yours, every wound they projected onto you. And now, you've arrived unrecognizable to the version of you that once needed their validation. And that is divine justice. The ones who laughed, who questioned, who dismissed you, they are now faced with the fullness of your presence. Not because you returned to them, but because the echo of your greatness is too loud to ignore. And still, you do not gloat. Still, you do not lower yourself to their level. You walk forward with grace, carrying the torch of transformation. They don't get to walk this next path with you. And that's okay. Their role in your story is over. Some characters were only written into the pain chapters. They were never meant to see the triumph. And now, your life becomes the testament. Not your words, not your receipts, but your very existence. The way you breathe differently, the way you choose peace, power, and presence over performance. This next season requires no announcement. You are the announcement. Your glow says what words cannot. Your alignment does what arguments never could. Your being is enough. They will feel that in every room you enter. They will feel the gravity of your healed energy, the power of your unshakable peace, the depth of your quiet confidence. They'll feel it, and they'll know. This is someone who walked through hell and didn't come out with smoke. They came out with fire in their eyes and grace in their hands. And that's the most beautiful kind of power. The power that doesn't destroy, it restores. The power that doesn't flex, it flows. The power that doesn't need to win over others, it simply wins in its own lane. You're no longer chasing justice from the past. You're living in justice now. Every opportunity you walk into is a correction. Every open door is a course reversal. Every yes you now receive is cosmic repayment for the 1,000 times they said no. You don't need them to say sorry. Life is saying it for them. Through every divine reversal, through every unexpected blessing, through every moment where you realize, I made it, and I'm still making it. You're not just surviving, you're glowing, you're breathing easier, you're sleeping deeper, you're dreaming again, not just at night, but with your eyes wide open. Because now, you know that nothing is impossible, that being laughed at is not the end, that being doubted is not defeat, that being counted out is often the first step toward being called forward. And that's exactly what's happening now. You're being called forward, not by people, but by purpose, not by applause, but by alignment, not for show, but for impact. You'll inspire people you've never met. Your story will travel into hearts that needed a reminder to keep going. Your rise will become someone else's roadmap, and the ones who once laughed will watch, unable to deny the beauty of your rebirth. Because that's what you've done. You've been reborn, into clarity, into power, into purpose. And nothing will ever be able to unwrite that transformation. It's permanent. It's sacred. It's yours. So hold your head high, not out of pride, but out of remembrance. Remember what it took to get here. Remember who you used to be, and honor every version of yourself that carried you forward when the world tried to hold you back. You're not just a survivor of laughter. You're a symbol of what happens when divinity chooses someone and refuses to let them fail. They will regret laughing. They will question what they missed. They will feel the sting of silence as you rise beyond the reach of their noise. But you will move forward, freely, fiercely, faithfully, and nothing will be the same.